Monday to you. So if you are watching this video right this very second on Facebook, it's very likely that you are watching the replay. Please put hashtag replay in the comments so I know when you're watching. So today we are going to play around with a composite flower. Now it is not, I am not going to be doing it correctly. So I just want to warn you that this is probably, I was not taught this. This is something that Kelly and I were playing with, and we just thought that it would be fun to kind of show you how I'm going to put this together. Now, when I was doing research for composite flowers, so, hey Callie, can you hand me that one that I made earlier? So when I was doing research for composite flowers, a composite flower is a rose that has been taken apart. So this is the first try, okay? But it's been taken apart and glued to make one large flower. And so we're gonna play with it. I want it to be different than this, but we're gonna play with it. Now what I have done is I have taken and glued these rose petals onto a styrofoam plate. So that's what we're gonna work with today. And I'm going to use some marshmallow roses. So back a week or so ago, we got in some beautiful tie-dyed roses. And these are called Marshmallow is the variety. And so I just thought it would be fun to make a composite flower. And the wonderful part about this composite flower that we're going to make today is it'll float. So I actually brought in a bowl that I filled with water, and it will just float on top of the water. So I thought this would be a fantastic way to have floating flowers in a fountain or any type of water. You could even put them on a swimming pool. If you were having like an event or a party, this would be a really fun way to float flowers. I don't know if you've ever tried to float other flowers before. They're not always real easy to float. A lot of times they will get water in them and they'll try to sink. But because this has the little styrofoam backing and it's a pretty large bloom, it looks like a large bloom, it is going to very easily float in the water. So I thought we would play with this and see what we can do.
People are saying good evening. Miss Nancy says she loves this idea.
And it's kind of fun, kind of different. I do have Owen here with me, so y'all talk to me, ask me questions, all the things. Owen will be able to read all of the comments. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. So y'all talk to me on all of those platforms, and we're able to talk to you and answer any questions you might have. Again, this is not how in the textbook it is done. I've never even read the textbook on how to make a composite flower. So what I have done with all of these here is I have just taken off each rose petal. I am going to take each rose petal and basically build a rose. So I'm just taking each petal and I am pulling them off.
Miss Linda Sue says good afternoon.
Hey Linda Sue, how are you?
Miss Cheryl says hello. Wayne Barrymore says excited to learn how to do this. Miss Carolyn says hi Monty, glad to see you.
So glad you're here, friends. Thank you for watching. Okay, so I am going to take my roses and just kind of loosen up all those rose petals.
Camly Audrey says this is a good idea.
Kind of fun, Cam. Isn't it kind of different?
Margaret Lynch is saying good evening. Miss Mary Lou's here.
Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Okay, so we are going to start out. I think that I would rather, so look at this rose. It actually has the blue on one side, the yellow on one side, and then the pink on one side. So it's kind of got the different colors. It's not like this one where I did all of the blue and then the pink and then the yellow. I thought that we may go in our colors. So what I'm going to do, and I'm not using the right kind of glue either because this is just for fun, and I needed glue to be able to to adhere quickly, so I'm using a hot glue. So I'm just warning you that that's not correct, okay? Anytime you make something to last in floral design, don't use hot glue because it's not good for the flowers. But this is something that'll stick quickly. It dries quickly, and so that's the reason I'm going to use my glue pan. Now I have it down on pretty low, like the lowest setting that it'll go, so it stays melted. I'm going to take a rose head. I cut the stem completely off. I'm going to dip him down into my glue, and I'm going to place him in the very center of my plate. So he's going to sit up just like that on my plate. Okay? Now this can absolutely be done. I think you could easily do this with faux flowers too. Take your rose petals apart and make your faux arrangement, faux composite flower. So you can see I kind of glued my first flower in place. Next, I'm going to take all of my yellow petals and I am going to stack them around my yellow part of my flower.
Miss Linda Jester says, good afternoon, Monty. Watching from Williamsburg, Virginia.
Hello, hello, friend.
Charlotte says, catching you live for the first time in months, watching from the Neshoba County Fair.
Hello, friend. Are y'all having fun?
Miss Sheila says, it looks like candy sprinkles.
Isn't it kind of pretty? It's so pretty. So I'm taking a little skewer and I am just tapping some glue on that petal. And then I am going to glue it right to my rose.
Let's see. Miss Diane says hello. Miss Julie says hi from Missouri.
Hello, hello. So glad y'all are here with me. Now, when I read up on a composite flower, they took, it was ridiculous, but they took each petal and they took wire and wired each petal, wired and taped every single petal that was going to go on their rose and layer on their rose. Now that is a lot of work. And so I decided that was more work than I wanted to do. So Callie and I kind of played with it and decided to try to do it this way. So I'm just taking my rose petals and I'm dipping them right into that cool hot glue. It's not very hot. I'll move my flower petals out of the way because you're probably not able to see.
Miss Peggy says it's so pretty.
Thank you. So I'm taking that petal and I'm dipping it right down into that glue and I'm just layering it right there on my...
Dodge followed us on TikTok. Thank you, Dodge.
Thanks for the follow, friend. Thank you, thank you.
Miss Sue Dean says good afternoon.
Hello, Miss Sue. How are you today? So this is going to be, it's kind of arts and crafts. I don't know if y'all enjoy arts and crafts, but that's what this basically is. It's kind of arts and crafts. But I'm taking each of my petals, popping them with a little bit of glue, and I'm just layering them out. So see how I'm extending that flower all the way to the edge there. So I'm just taking and dipping. So this glue is not very hot, so it strings really bad, but it works. And you can keep adding as many petals as you would like, as many roses as you have. Add as many petals as you would like. It's not going to hurt it at all.
Margaret Lynch asked, how's your mom doing today?
She's doing pretty good, Miss Margaret. She had treatment today, so I have not talked to her this afternoon. Okay, so there's our yellow. So see how pretty that yellow looks? So next we're going to come in with some greens. We'll come in with green here. So I'm just going to take my green petals. So this is about 4 roses that I pulled apart. You don't have to go with this tie-dyed look. I just thought it would kind of be fun, and these were older in my cooler, so I thought we would pull those out and kind of play with them. But you can absolutely, tie-dye might not be for everybody, so you can absolutely use any color. There were beautiful pink ones, there were beautiful white ones. So next I'm going to come in with my blue. So I think we're going to just take those petals. I was thinking I would change up some of those I would kind of ombre it down.
Dodge says, hi from Arkansas. What's this going to be used for?
It is just for fun, honestly. It's just something I have never done in floral design before. And so I thought that I would kind of play with a composite flower. I have never done it before. And so I just thought it would be fun. So I'm just taking each of those blues, dipping them in that glue. And again, the way it was shown, I put on Pinterest to kind of see how composite flowers were done. And they're used a lot of times for bridal bouquets, bridesmaids bouquets, where you will take each petal and you will wire and tape each petal individually and attach it to that rose, which is a lot of work. But they're amazing. They're absolutely beautiful. But it was more work than I cared to do. So Callie and I were playing with it, and we thought that this might be a fun way to do it.
Lyrical Lily asks, what are you gluing it to?
I'm gluing it to a little styrofoam plate. And so you can see how I'm taking each of those petals and I'm just kind of layering it all the way out to the edge of that plate. And so this styrofoam plate, the wonderful part about the plate is it floats. This is my first try, not nearly as pretty as what we're doing now. But the plate causes the flower to float. And I thought this would be fabulous in a fountain or in a swimming pool. Like we've had to float flowers before. And I think this would be amazing for even a centerpiece. It would be fun to use.
Never seen this done before, but you're using beautiful flowers.
Thank you. And it's different, but I thought it would kind of be fun and something different that we've never done before. Okay, so there are our greenish blue color.
Miss Nancy wants to see the glue pot.
It's just it's just a regular glue pan. This one, I think I purchased this one off of Amazon. You can purchase these glue pans from the craft store. I have it on its lowest setting. So the lowest setting that it will go to cause my glue to be sticky.
Chris says you should put it on the door behind you when you're done. Seal it with something and it will look really cool.
I wonder if it would dry and hold its color. We can sure play with it, can't we? So next I'm going to come in with my pink color. And what I'm doing to get up against the rose. So the center is actually a rose, a full rose, okay? And that's what, when I was doing the research, they started with a rose that was intact, and then they came in and then they added the petals fuller and fuller and fuller. Now the only thing about a composite, and I have not done it with the wiring and taping, so I will say that out loud, but the only thing I think is it's hard, when we were playing with it, it's hard to pierce a petal and it not rip. So I don't know how they keep it all intact without those petals flaring out. So in order to get my petal to go up against my rose, to start with, I take and add my little bit of glue to the inside of the petal, and then I bump that really close to my rose.
Carmas followed us on TikTok. Thank you.
Thanks for the follow, friends. Thank you. And if you enjoy this video, please sprinkle it or share it with your friends. So I'm just taking each petal. Some of them I'm just dipping the back side in because I'm gluing it directly to the plate. And then others I'm just taking, this is just a bamboo skewer, and I'm touching it with some glue there. Now, let me say, if you are going to do this for a client, I would say don't use the hot glue, use cold glue. Anytime you work with flowers, and I am so going against what I preach and what I teach, anytime you work with fresh flowers, you don't want to, hot glue will damage the flower. Now I will say I don't have my glue very hot, but hot glue is not good for fresh flowers. So anytime, if I were doing this for someone to sell to them, I would not use hot glue. I would definitely use cold glue. But my problem with using cold glue is cold glue doesn't set quickly. It's one of those things that it takes a while for it to set. So it wasn't going to hold up for me to show you how it would look. So that's the reason I chose to use hot glue.
Megan followed us on TikTok. She said she also follows us on Facebook.
Thank you, Megan. We're so thankful you're here. So you'll keep layering it until your flower is as full as you want it. There's, and honestly, there's no right or wrong. It's all going to be in your preference. So don't feel like, so see how pretty? That's actually looking pretty. It reminds me of a paper flower. Have you ever seen the pretty paper flowers that they decorate with all the bright colors? That's what it kind of reminds me of.
Miss Carolyn, we can't move the camera mid-live, but next time we'll make sure to see the whole table. She's only dipping...
I'll show you. Where are we? Which camera is she on?
She's on Facebook.
Facebook? Okay. I think you can see it on Facebook now.
Yeah, she's just dipping her petals in glue.
Sorry about that, hon.
Joanne says, "Hi, Monty. Looks awesome."
Thank
Marianne
you.
Covert says, "Glad to catch you live today. Although this is very pretty, it does seem very labor intensive."
Yes, and can you imagine having to wire and tape every single rose petal? Callie said, now that would be an expensive flower if we had to wire and tape every rose petal. But you can see here, I'm just taking, now that I've gotten them all glued in the center, I'm just going around the outside and taking my petals and adding them to the outside of the rose.
Rhea Norman really likes them.
Isn't that awesome, Rhea? Yes, you would like this. You like all that color. Isn't it pretty? It almost looks like ribbon. It's really, really pretty. Okay, so next, to finish it off, I am going to take some of the foliage from some of these roses because my foliage is pretty. So I'm going to take some of the foliage from the roses.
Miss Julie says hi from Pennsylvania.
Hey, Miss Julie, how are you?
She's hoping for rain.
Hoping for some rain. We had some good rain last week. Okay, I just took my rose.
Welcome, Roxanne. She says she's been watching a live and not a replay. Welcome to the live.
Yay, so glad you're here. So I'm taking that leaf and I'm lifting up those petals and I'm just going to finish off my flower with a couple of leaves. Now you could do this with really any kind of foliage, but I had pretty foliage on my roses, so that's the reason I'm using my rose foliage. I just don't want you to see the edge of that paper plate. See how that plate's kind of sticking out there? So I'm just taking and adding the rose foliage kind of all the way around. So I'm just snipping off the pretty leaves.
Miss Nancy says, if you use your imagination, I'm sure this is like making a float for the Rose Bowl parade.
Can you imagine? I had friends when I was in college go and work at the Rose Bowl. Work on some floats. And it's interesting, when you go out there, you pay your way out there, you pay to stay, you pay to feed yourself, and you volunteer your hours, and you work hours. And it's just to say you did it.
Miss Mary Jo's happy to call you live. Welcome, Miss Mary.
Glad you're here, Mary Jo. Thank you for watching. So you can see I'm just kind of gluing that foliage all the way around. You don't have to put the foliage on it if you don't want to.
Margaret Lynch says it's so pretty. Thank you, Miss Margaret.
Miss Margaret, I got your letter today. So excited. And depending on how large you wanted to make this, you could use a larger plate if you wanted to. And I think if you sprayed this with some finishing spray, like a Crown and Glory or something along those lines, it would help for it to last longer. And I could almost see you putting it in like a hydration chamber. And it lasting longer too.
Miss Virginia says hi from Florida.
Hey Virginia, thank you for being here.
Maria says I could see a fountain of water feature with the giant roses and tea lights floating for an evening reception.
Wouldn't the tea lights be beautiful? I'm just throwing these in the floor. Is there my way?
And we're at the end of our ribbon sale.
Yes, tomorrow is our last day for 50% off. Tomorrow at midnight. So if anybody is interested, and we have a couple of orders, we've got them packed. They will go out tomorrow. If anybody's interested in the ribbon sale, check us out on Shopify, our Shopify account.
Miss Karen Page says hi, Monty known from New Zealand. Hello.
Hello, hello. Some of these I kind of cut in half because they're really large, so I'm just cutting that leaf in half and then dipping it in the glue and laying it on that plate right up underneath my rose petals. So just so pretty. This is way more fun than I expected.
Dee says, I can't believe I got to catch it live. She's from South Carolina, and she said it's beautiful.
So glad you're here. Thank you, friend.
Miss Valerie asks, how many roses did that take?
Actually, this one probably took about 3. It has a full rose in the very center, and I think we had pulled off petals from 3 others, and I just put a lot of them in the floor because I didn't need them all. So.
Miss Karen says, this is so pretty.
Right, there it is. There is our finished composite rose. And again, there's the center, the very center of the flower is a full head. So it's a full rose.
Miss Lisa says, very pretty. What are you making these for? I missed the beginning.
This is just for fun. This is something that I've never done before, and I just thought it would kind of be fun to do. Now, I will say this is not how they teach it, okay? They teach making a composite rose or a composite flower, like if you were going to hold it in a bouquet, where they wire and tape every single petal, which was a lot. It was way more than I wanted to put into it, and so I decided to glue mine to a little styrofoam plate. Now the styrofoam plate, the wonderful part about the styrofoam plate is that it floats. So I brought in some water. This is just a bowl that we had here at the shop, and I filled it with water, and my flower will just float on top of that bowl. Now this would be a beautiful something to make to put in a punch bowl for a bridal shower. You could have something similar to this in a pretty large punch bowl. But it's just, I could so see it floating. We floated roses once in a fountain, several times we have. This would float beautifully in a fountain, or even on a swimming pool. But it floats really well. That styrofoam plate really helps to cause it to float really well. Now my second try was so much prettier than my first. But we were practicing with the first one. I really like that I stayed with the way the rose itself was colored, and I didn't go in kind of an ombre effect. So I really like my second one. We did better the second time. Now I did use hot glue. If I were going to make this to sell to a customer, I would certainly use a cold glue or an Oasis cold glue. But I used hot glue because I needed it to stay together. And cold glue doesn't stay together. I mean, it's not quick and instant hold like hot glue is. So I just put my hot glue pan on its lowest setting, which is just a regular glue pan. I put it on its lowest setting so it wouldn't blister the petals. And it really has not discolored the petals at all.
Miss Evelyn says unusual but very pretty.
Thank you, thank you. I think it would be gorgeous if you did it in a solid color, like a white, like a bridal white would be perfect for a bridal shower. But thank you so much. I thought it was interesting and kind of fun.
Miss Rhea was like, says it's like a giant corsage.
Absolutely. Can you imagine?
Miss Diana says, "This is so pretty. Glad to have caught you live."
So glad you're here. Thank you for watching.
Thank you from Florida. Miss Grace says, "What are they? They are pretty and she likes them."
Okay, great. It is called a composite flower. And if you'll pull up on like Pinterest, you'll see composite flowers done where all they're doing is taking, and you can kind of even read how it's done. What they do is they take the individual petals and they build up that rose to make it an extra large rose. And sometimes they carry them as bouquets. So the girls, I would probably put more depth in it. It's a little bit flat for a bridal bouquet, but what they would do is they would run wires and such down in the bottom, and they would carry it just like a bridal bouquet. Very interesting and different, but I had never done one before, and I thought they were really fun.
Wear it as a hat, Miss Linda says.
Absolutely, you could wear it as a hat. It would be pretty.
Would it work with peonies? Miss Rhea asks.
Okay, so the only problem is you really need to have pretty hardy flowers. Peonies are very delicate, and I don't believe their petals would hold up to the wiring and taping and gluing and all the things. I have seen them use gladiolus. Now, back before my time in the floral industry, they would take a gladiolus bloom, and they would take the petals from the glad, they would break those blooms apart, and they would layer those petals, and they would make corsages and boutonnieres out of gladiolus blooms. And I think they called them glamillias. And so it's a composite flower just like this, where they added petals to it. And if you'll look them up, they're really beautiful. Like, they're very pretty for corsages and boutonnieres. But it's the exact same thing. They just glued them all together to make a composite flower.
That's all. Miss Julie says it would be so good for a lot of parties. But that's
yes, isn't it fun? It's just fun and different. Guys, thank y'all so much for being here. Thank you for all the questions and the comments. If you have any questions about how we do things, you can certainly drop that in the comments on Facebook and over on TikTok. Not TikTok. Y'all can send me a message on TikTok, but you can do that also on YouTube. I will be back in the morning at 8 o'clock to do a devotion. So I would love for y'all to join me on Facebook for our devotion at 8. And we should be back. We're going to go live early tomorrow because I have to leave early. So we will go live probably early lunchtime to do another live with Victoria. So y'all join us then. I hope to see you. Have a great evening, and we'll see you soon.